Good morning and welcome to Thoughts and Updates in an absolutely incredibly frosty Scotland. We've already had the snow, we've had some disruption, we've got flooding up in Aberdeen and round about. We have a place called the Rest and Be Thankful, which is a beautiful beauty spot, which is north of where we live here up on the way into the Highlands, being repaired once again. It's a part of our connection with parts of the Highlands, which is consistently and constantly brought down by things like landslips. So it's certainly a challenging time. We also had during the week an entire bridge shut down because people thought they heard explosions where they actually heard something called thunder snow, which is new in terms of our weather. We always like to have something a little bit different, I suppose. So as we head towards Christmas and the end of 2020, this week has once again been a week of quite challenging times for us here under COVID-19, but also an interesting week in terms of what's been going on. So my rating this week, as you will see from this morning, some stuff coming out from SFSA from last week, but this week I've been looking at the fines, I'll come back to them, that have been imposed on at one or two clubs, as well as forfeiting games. Also taking Leanne Dempster being fizzing about the fixture change into an Edinburgh nursery. Also for Ringside Report, Jamie Moore has been my focus of Boxers of Yesteryear, but also looking at the Trump administration and its dysfunctionality, particularly the head of it, as Mr. Trump starts to lose his mind, as if that's news. We also have this week Talking Boys yesterday, looking ahead to the Lyndon Arthur Anthony Yardy fight, which was last night, and I'll come back because what I have learnt this week is all to do with toxic masculinity. Also interesting to see Errol Spence Jr. did not find that crashing his car and ending up in a car accident has done anything to diminish his ability to swathe his way through that particular division in the world, and defended his 2 titles overnight. So also reviewing this week, I've seen a couple of things that weren't great, so they're not going to be reviewed. I'm not going to send the companies concerned feedback at the moment because, excuse me, it's not something that I think is going to be of great value. These were things done in order to respond to pandemic by companies who couldn't get to the fringe, and they're very much moved on since this was made public in August. So, not been a sparkling week. There is one that should be coming that I saw this week, which I thought was pretty good. But outside of that, not a great. Anyway, a couple of things that I have learnt this week and have, for me, let where we are with things become a little more strange and bizarre, or that we're not learning. And one of them is to do with the world of boxing, one of them is to do with the world of football. Let me take football first. St Mirren and Kilmarnock have got suspended £40,000 fined. I think it's for both of them. The reports say would suggest that that's the case. St Mirren forfeited 2 games, Kilmarnock forfeited 1 game. That means that both for St Mirren and for Kilmarnock, that whatever games they were unable to fulfil, that they lost 3-0, and that will be registered on the SPFL league tables. So for St Mirren, they've lost 6 points, Kilmarnock, they've lost 3. Why? Because it is believed that the SPFL rules on the COVID-19 methods being put in place in order to stop it spreading have been breached by both clubs, by individuals, and by the clubs. This is a difficult time. We have confusion reigning for some people. I don't understand why, I have to be perfectly honest, over what the rules are. The rules are, for me, pretty damn clear. There are some areas and issues with regards to the opening of shops and so on. I know that, for example, our Kira went yesterday to Braehead Shopping Centre only to find that all the shops were shut. So, the idea that somehow you're going to end up with people being confused over what they should and shouldn't do, get it. They shouldn't be. They should follow the protocols, absolutely. So they didn't. So you're going to lose the games that you couldn't play. Okay. I'm going to fine you 40 grand. And if for St Mirren, that's a problem. 6 points down at the bottom end of the table could be vital. For clubs like St Mirren and Kilmarnock, £40,000 isn't short change. The Scottish Professional Football League is a membership organisation, and they are responsible to their members, two of whom they have just waved a large stick at to beat them over what has happened in a pandemic. We've got Stirling Albion, we've got Clyde, we've got other clubs as well. Are they going to get a £40,000 fine? That could close some of those clubs. Where is fairness? And this week it's also emerged that Dundee United did a group photo, and they had to field a weekend side yesterday against Livingston, but they lost 2-0 because they had lost something like 9 first-team regulars plus their coaching staff to self-isolation. What are they going to get fined? They've already lost the game. So you can't take the points away from them. You can't give Livingston another goal in order to make it a 3-0 victory, or can you? We are living in strange times. The Scottish Professional Football League and the Scottish Football Association should be there to support our clubs, not punish them in the middle of a unique set of circumstances. So therefore, I'm not saying that clubs should be immune to any kind of punishment, but what I am saying is that sometimes what you require is a little bit of sensitivity, not a lot of stick with which to beat people. Also, toxic masculinity. Now, last weekend, Daniel Dubois against Joe Joyce. Dubois took a knee in the 10th round, claiming he was in agony because of a swelling over his left eye. It's the left eye. That's the left eye. Which led to him, in some people's eyes, quitting. Carl Frampton, David Hay, Tony Bellew, many others within the boxing fraternity said he had quit, and there was no way in the earth that they would have quit. Well, Daniel Dubois took a knee with 2 fractures in his orbital bones. According to a specialist during the course of the week, had he continued, there was every possibility that the damage done round about that orbital fracture could have ended up being compromised by the fracture, leading to a detached retina and blurred double vision for the rest of his life. But the warrior code has to be set. The warrior code has to be adhered to. Quitters don't win. Toxic masculinity has led to the vast majority of young men who have committed suicide doing so. It's a contributory factor because there is a belief that somehow men should not admit failure, should not admit weakness. And whilst I'm not suggesting for a second that Carl Frampton, Tony Bellew, David Hay, or any of the other boxers, and by the way, I have mentioned those 3 because they're the 3 most prominent in my mind. There are many, many others. I am not suggesting for a second that they are going to contribute to the possibility that Daniel Dubois is going to become depressed and end up taking his own life. Not at all. But what happens with those people who are contemplating the possibility that they need help is that they look at people who are role models, heroes, and they hear the message that somehow you should not give in. You should not admit failure. You should not admit defeat, temporary or permanent. And you should carry on. So what happens if you can't? What happens if temporarily in part of your life you have an inability to see beyond that which is suddenly a problem that you can't solve, but you feel that you're supposed to do it alone? Speaking as somebody who knows personally about suicide ideation, I know how damaging that whole message can be. Boxing needs to get its house in order. All former fighters need to get their house in order. So while you are putting out messages about depression, about mental illness, you need to change how you behave. Not just to support the message, but to show people that you can make the change that is going to be of benefit to those that you've never met, that you don't know, but who have you in such hold you in such high esteem. So, it's been a difficult week, an interesting one, and next week will hopefully be similar. But with the current frost all around us and the beginnings of winter absolutely here, I can't wait, because if the snow's started, let's hope it starts beginning to look a lot like Christmas with more of it. Till next week, bye for now.